Hello, coders. Today we are going to continue to explore further on text processing, that is, using the string data type. In today's session, we'll be starting with talking about a code challenge for you. Let us look at it. So, you found a old diary tucked away safely under a tree in a thick plastic cover. And when you try to read it, it's difficult because it follows its own style. You've made that effort and you have deciphered it. You're finding it interesting enough, so you want to convert it into a standard readable English text format. So we're going to leave it to you on what kind of processing you will do on the text to come up with the final outcome. Let's look at the text and make some observations on this. What we can see is that the sentences are not starting with a capital, then they're ending with these funny three hashes, and randomly there are capital letters in the middle where the author has used semicolon to separate out the animal list here. Wherever mentioned the birds has used the ampersand sign here. And now if you are thinking how you're going to make this read properly, well, don't worry. The string module in Python library provides with very, very simple functions to enable you to do that. Have you given it a thought? How do you want your final text to look like? So if this is the original text, this is how it looks. After we have finished processing it, this is what I think a simple, easy to read English text would look like. So you can see there's sentences and, we have put replaced by commas, started by capital letters, and then even for the birds, replaced it by single quote here instead of those ampersands. Now let us look at some of the capabilities of the string that will help us do this processing. So I'm going to leave this file as it is. So I'm going to just create a new file and I'm calling it string text processing. And let's see what are the possibilities we have with string. Now I've defined a my string. I'm not particularly used the right case for this. So let us look at the functions. Now, if I put a dot here, we can get a lot of functions here. So what are we looking at? We can replace something with something else. We can split, we can find, we can join, we can count, we can check if the values are decimal. We can capitalize stuff. That does look like a lot of powerful string functions. So now we just have to learn to use them. So should we try with the capitalize and see what happens? So there's capitalize, there's case fold, and there's swap case. So we don't want to swap. We can try case fold and we can try capitalize what they do. Let's check out what capitalize does. So let's just print it and see. So what has capitalize done? It has exactly done what we wanted it to do. H has become capital and see the poor capital has become small. So it's like made it proper. What do you think are the other things we need? Maybe to replace a few things like that triple hash which we had. So I'm replacing this comma with the semicolon. It's probably the other way around there. And let's see what happens. There it goes. It worked. But oops, did you notice what just happened? We lost the capitalization. It had done the capitalization here, but here when we replaced it, came back to the original. Do you know what happened? So let us look at this. It's a very, very important thing we are going to be learning. So this function, capitalize, it is not changing the original string my string. How do we know that? If we just printed my string after this without even doing anything, but you see the function itself gave us the right thing. It gave us what we wanted. So now what does that mean? If it is not changing the my string, how do we get the outcome of it? For functions, we do not change the original argument which you passed with. Instead, they make a copy of it and they return it. What you would do is you can take it in the same variable or in a different variable. It doesn't matter. Do you see? Now it's working all right because after capitalizing, it returned the outcome in my string. So instead of my string, if I make it my string 1, this function is just returning into this variable. If it is multi-line, which is the case here, the final outcome also you would want to print it multi-line. So you can approach it in multiple ways. So let's see first what you do. Otherwise, when you come back and check it out, we will show you a simple way to use it using a ready Python function to wrap the text. But don't worry about that part. Let's see you first finishing the rest of the processing. Do you think you have enough tools now to start exploring and working on the code challenge? the capitalize function, it made for the first sentence, it did what we wanted it to. As per us, we finished the sentence and a new sentence is beginning. So it should have done for this also, but no. The way the function is doing it, it's only doing it for the first letter of this entire string. Now, what does that mean? This part separate and this part separate. If we give these parts separate and then pass capitalize to it, it will work. So we can split the string into multiple things. So what we're going to do is we're going to split this. So we are telling it that it should split it using the dot. And if we are taking it in my string split and we are printing it. Do you see what it returns? Do you identify the square brackets? Yes, it's a list. So basically the split function, it returns a list and each of the elements is part of this string which has been split against the separator which we gave. So now that once we have split it, you know what to do. You need to run a loop, for loop against each of these elements in this list and capitalize it. And then after that, you will have to do whatever else is needed and then join it back. I think you have enough ammunition now to work on the challenge. So go ahead, try it out and see what kind of final text you get. Make sure to print the final thing and show us once you're done. But the journey of this is not going to be final. Make sure you spend an hour or two and only then you can come back to see, how one of the solutions, one of the approaches. Hello, how has been your experience working on this text processing challenge? I hope it's been fun and I also hope you've learned many things along the way. Okay, so let us look at the code. So what we've done, first thing we have split and we have split it using triple hash because that's what was being used in the original. And then for each of the sentence which got split, what we did a few things like based on, and this came out of all observation, right? Once we started running the code. So one thing we saw that the sentences which was having this new line in before, they were not working properly or they were not fitting in like a paragraph. So what we did, wherever it was starting with a new line, so new line is identifying using \n. There we just replaced it and then we capitalized. So this gave us all the sentences with starting with capital letter. Then the other things which we did, if the sentence contained and, then we replaced the semicolon with comma. And if it contained ampersand, then we replaced it with single quote. And then what we have done is that for each sentence, we kept joining it. So final sentence plus sentence. And then we saw that when we were joining it, we needed to add the dot and a space. And there we go. We got the final sentence. But what happened was it all came in one long line. So after doing all this, when it came in one long line, so it's really difficult to read it. So it's good to be able to wrap it. This is the part you may not figure out by yourself. So that is, we use something called a text wrap. So we imported text wrap module, and then we have just done text wrap dot fill, and we have passed it the sentence that helped us to print in such a way that it's wrapping it up. Go back to your program and continue to work on it. I hope this challenge gave you a good insight on the kind of processing one can do just by using simple string processing functions. Hope that was fun. Happy coding.